In defiance of pressure from China, President Tsai meets with US Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
I'm here outside of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, where both pro and anti-Taiwan protesters are demonstrating.
China reacts to the Tsai-McCarthy meeting, but the response is muted. Plus, a unique Taiwanese pineapple variety is now being grown in China without Taiwan's permission. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. A great friend of America. That's how US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has described Taiwan following a highly anticipated meeting with Tsai Ing-wen in California. The meeting went ahead despite pressure from China. From California, Leslie Liao reports.
After countless reports, rumors, and a last-minute confirmation, a historic meeting. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen and U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy shake hands outside the Ronald Reagan Library in Simi Valley near Los Angeles. A rare moment to reaffirm what has become a blossoming friendship in person.
I believe our bond is stronger now than at any time or point in my lifetime. And of course, President Tsai is a great champion of that bond.
It's a bond that Tsai has worked hard to nurture over her 7 years in power. She's the first president of Taiwan to meet a House Speaker on U.S. soil. And it's only the third time a Taiwan president has met a speaker in the U.S. or Taiwan since the two countries cut diplomatic ties in 1979.
In our efforts to protect our way of life, Taiwan is grateful to have the United States of America by our side. As we confront the unique challenges of our time.
Nearly 20 U.S. representatives from both the Democrat and the Republican parties met with Tsai.
I told President Tsai that the House Democrats will never abandon this relationship and will work hand in glove with the Biden administration to affirm our commitment.
The historical impact of this meeting is significant not just to Taiwan. The whole world is watching, with over 160 journalists at this event. And that heavy media presence is largely due to China. Beijing, which claims Taiwan as its own and hasn't ruled out the use of force to take it, made it clear it did not want this to happen.
Talks a lot about trade.
坚决反对美国政府第3号人物众议长麦卡锡同蔡英文会见。
When Tsai met with then U.S. Speaker Nancy Pelosi in Taiwan last year, China launched unprecedented military drills around the island. But this time is different. Both Taiwan and the U.S. have worked hard to keep the visit low-key in a bid not to inflame tensions. The meeting was held in California, not Washington. Tsai's trip was framed merely as a stopover, and her public appearances were kept to a minimum. But McCarthy has not ruled out a Pelosi-style visit.
Are there any plans for you to come to Taiwan, or, is there any desire?
I don't have any current plans, but that doesn't mean I will not go. And if there comes a time that I go, I would not go as one party only. And I would not go for a simple purpose for myself.
And for Tsai, an opportunity to remind the world it must stand united to protect democracy.
We once again find ourselves in a world where democracy is under threat. And the urgency of keeping the beacon of freedom shining cannot be understated.
This meeting between Tsai and McCarthy is a landmark moment, a rare chance for Taiwan to stand on the global stage, and a clear signal of the friendship between Washington and Taipei. And if today is anything to go by, the two countries will stand by this crucial relationship, no matter the threats from China. Eason Sun and Leslie Liao in Simi Valley, California for TaiwanPlus.
Just moments before Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen and US Speaker Kevin McCarthy met, our reporter Jaime Ocon was outside the Reagan Library, where hundreds of demonstrators gathered.
Chaotic scenes at the site of a landmark moment in U.S.-Taiwan ties. Outside the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, over 100 protesters have come out in opposition to Tsai Ing-wen's meeting with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Wherever she's gone here in the U.S., President Tsai has drawn crowds of supporters, but also detractors. These protesters began setting up over 2 hours before the president was set to arrive.
我们就是为了蔡英文过境这个美国啊，因为美国这个只承认一个中国啊，他就过境美国，美国的政界都结束他了，这是不对的。美国要承认一个中国，就不能接受这个蔡英文到访。
因为我们是中国人啊，要坚决地捍卫中国的领土完整和统一。对，台湾是中国的，以前是，未来也是。
China believes that Taiwan is part of its territory and is threatening to use military force to take the island. President Tsai maintains that Taiwan is an independent country, and that has upset Beijing and its supporters. Tensions in the Taiwan Strait can also be felt here in Southern California. TaiwanPlus was in the middle of an interview when it captured this moment between pro and anti-Tsai demonstrators. As the pushing and shoving continued, riot police began separating the two sides. Over 100 pro-Tsai supporters were also gathered in front of the Reagan Library, and many were looking forward to welcoming the president to California.
我们就是支持我们台湾的总统，对，所以我今天要来支持他。他很难得来一次美国，一定要来这边。我人就这么近了，在这个后院了，我当然要我在沙龙house，我当然要来支持他。他都来到这边了，
难得总统已经来这里了。那我们人虽然在美国，但是我们心在台湾，支持台湾。
This is Tsai's 7th time transiting through the U.S. as president. A week ago, she stopped in New York before heading to Central America. And during both of her stops in the U.S. this trip, demonstrators have made sure to either welcome the president or show their anger at her arrival. Howard Zhang and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
To find out more about the implications of the meeting, James Chater spoke to Jia Ian Chong, Associate Professor of Political Science at the National University of Singapore.
Kevin McCarthy said the US-Taiwan relationship is a matter of great importance to the free world. What's your initial reaction to this meeting between President Tsai and Kevin McCarthy?
In her time in office, President Tsai has really stabilized and built on US-Taiwan relations. Even though unofficial, there seems to be far more trust between the two sides. Contact is a lot more regular. And I think the other bit that's quite important is to sort of show that Taiwan and the United States, at least on a lot of these matters, are actually quite moderate, right? They shifted the meeting potentially from Taipei to California. And so any sort of potential for instability rests more with overreaction from Beijing more than anything else.
What happens now, do you think, and how far do you think China can really push now?
At this moment, I think things seem a little bit overdetermined in the sense that the Chinese side is also receiving President Macron and also EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. So I think to have a big flare-up at this point in time would undermine Beijing's efforts, ongoing efforts to do outreach towards Europe and other places. The other bit that I think it's useful to take note of is that as China increases its threats and continually coerces Taiwan, people on the island, they get accustomed to these sorts of things. So the effect of every additional point of coercion starts diminishing over time. And at some point, Beijing will have to ask itself whether it really wants to coerce more or whether it wants to escalate or try to accommodate.
This meeting is happening as former KMT President Ma Ying-jeou visits China and meets with some Communist Party officials. Which Taiwanese political party do you think is most likely to benefit from these two simultaneous meetings?
Now, the KMT is going to play up the potential that Tsai's visit to the U.S. and Tsai's handling of relations with the U.S. creates more instability. But I think that is a rather old narrative that doesn't have that much traction anymore. I guess one of the things they have going for them is that they've shown that more regular ties with the United States isn't this apocalyptic, dangerous kind of activity. However, I think where they need also to be more cautious is to actually show that these sort of meetings aren't just purely symbolic, that they can actually deliver something for Taiwan. So for the KMT, their ability to connect with and communicate with the PRC is one thing. The question is, what does that deliver? And importantly, I think people in Taiwan will be asking whether the KMT can deliver not just on sort of practical, well, maybe there's a little bit more trade here, maybe there's a lifting of restrictions on Taiwan there, but whether they can commit the CCP to any sort of stronger forms of restraint, which unfortunately I don't think is quite possible at this point in time.
That was James Chater speaking with Jia Ian Chong in Singapore. China has responded to Tsai's meeting with Kevin McCarthy by launching maritime inspections in the Taiwan Strait. But as James Chater reports, Beijing's reaction has been more muted than many expected.
China's state media showing Chinese ships heading for the Taiwan Strait. They say they'll be conducting on-site inspections of Taiwanese vessels for 3 days. The move comes after US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy met with Taiwan's President Tsai in California, despite protests from Beijing. China says inspections will focus on the central and northern Taiwan Strait, but Taiwan has told vessels not to cooperate. On Thursday morning, Taiwan said it was monitoring a Chinese aircraft carrier, then 200 nautical miles from Taiwan's coast. Taiwan's defense minister said the 300-meter-long ship was conducting training and that its movements came at a sensitive time.
对，它一般出来的话，目前航母出来，通常一般也就不外乎起降，但目前还没有发觉这种状况，好吧？飞机起降都还没有发觉，我们持续的来注意到。
Beijing claims Taiwan as part of its territory and condemns interactions between US and Taiwanese officials. Last year, after then US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei, Beijing fired a missile over Taiwan during 4 days of live-fire drills. The Tsai-McCarthy meeting prompted concerns Beijing would respond in a similar way, something the White House urged against.
In recent days, we have conveyed directly to the Chinese at high levels that escalation is uncalled for. And so we'll continue to keep those channels of conversations open.
Beijing may have listened. Tsai's meeting came as EU leaders and a former Taiwanese president visited China. Analysts say the presence of those foreign dignitaries and Tsai's meeting taking place on US soil led to a more muted response from Beijing.
I think it's clear that all three parties, that China, that Taiwan, and the US, none of them wanted a repeat of what occurred last August and have worked to de-escalate the situation.
It was tightrope diplomacy. For now, at least, Tsai's landmark meeting in Los Angeles appears to have passed without an extreme reaction from Beijing. But ahead of presidential elections here early next year, her US tour will have done little to lower tensions closer to home with China. Ricky and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
China's aircraft carrier Shandong and 3 other warships were spotted in waters around Taiwan on Thursday morning. TaiwanPlus reporter Sam Hui spoke with Ben Lewis, a military analyst based in Washington, D.C., to find out what's important about the event.
How could the Shandong carrier play a role in denying the U.S. from helping Taiwan or even blockading the island?
To be honest, we don't know how effective the PLAN is going to be against countering the U.S. Navy. Obviously, the U.S. Navy is the most powerful Navy on Earth. The PLAN is relatively novel in its experience and capabilities. And so when it comes down to it, it'll definitely play a role. I think the PLA is intent on having some kind of naval presence east of Taiwan. I'm not sure if the Shandong or the Liaoning will play a role in that or not. But nonetheless, its presence there now definitely sends a message that the PLA is hoping to extend its reach, gain real experience in what it views as a potential area of operations in the future. And I think it's something to watch very carefully.
Do you think this is the start of a reaction to the meeting between President Tsai and Speaker Kevin McCarthy? Or will we continue to see a smaller response compared to when Pelosi came?
At the end of the day, you never know what Xi Jinping is going to do. So it could be much larger than we think. It could be much smaller. I suspect it's going to be some kind of response, but obviously the fact that French President Macron and EU Commissioner von der Leyen are in Beijing may complicate things. Ma Ying-jeou is still in China. That may complicate things. So there's a lot of overlapping events going on that makes this a really unique situation.
How is China preparing its Coast Guard to sail around Taiwan?
And so as of today, China has announced a 3-day, what they call a joint patrol inspection operation in the Taiwan Strait involving the Haishan 06, which is China's largest maritime patrol ship. And that's a Maritime Safety Administration ship. And so supposedly it's going to conduct inspections of locally operating naval vessels. Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has asked those vessels and locally flagged vessels not to cooperate. It's an assertion of China's control over Taiwan and the Taiwan Strait as a whole.
That was Ben Lewis, a military analyst based in Washington, speaking with TaiwanPlus reporter Sam Hui. Taiwan's former President Ma Ying-jeou is in Shanghai, the final stop in his historic and controversial visit to China. Ma arrived in Shanghai on Wednesday afternoon. He met with the city's party secretary and the head of its United Front work department. That's a Chinese government agency tasked with handling overseas matters, including Taiwan. On Thursday, Ma attended a forum at Fudan University. During his speech there, he said that Taiwan and China should work harder to increase exchanges between young people.
两岸年轻朋友的自然交流、自然融合如此顺理成章，也代表着两岸年轻人只是欠缺机会与接触，多了解还有很大努力的空间。这2点呢，两岸当局都要更加努力。
Coming up, Taiwan's drought has a butterfly effect. Stay tuned for more.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world. Charted by the freest country in Asia.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Taiwanese semiconductor giant TSMC.
Public buses to be electric by 2030. A mission that begins with listening.
And telling the stories of Taiwan.
In Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Drawing insight from original thinkers.
And sharing it with the world. TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus. For more great stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app. You've done it, right?
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. China has released more than 4,000 kilograms of locally grown mango pineapples for sale domestically. But this variety is actually from Taiwan, which never gave China the rights to grow it. Yu Jinghuang has the story.
These pineapples, grown in the southern city of Tsai, will soon be ready for harvest. This variety is known as the mango pineapple. It's a relatively new variety that has been bred to last longer and be smaller than the golden diamond pineapple, the most popular variety for export. It took breeders 2 decades to develop and only launched on the domestic market a few years ago.
肉质跟它的那个颜色会比较浓郁，它的糖酸比也比金砖高。
The mango pineapple should be unique to Taiwan, but Chinese media recently claimed farmers there have produced more than 4,000 kilograms of mango pineapples. This comes as a shock to Taiwan's agricultural authorities. That's because Beijing banned Taiwanese pineapples in 2021, saying it had found harmful pests in shipments of the fruit. Around the same time, it started to promote locally produced golden diamonds, another variety originally from Taiwan. To protect its export market, Taiwan has applied for plant variety rights in Japan.
品种权是一个属地主义，当时没有办法在大陆申请品种权，也没有办法行使所谓的品种权的侵权的一个权利的行使。在大陆种植以后，它是没有办法输出到日本的主要的目标市场国。
To stop Taiwan's unique agricultural products from being stolen, the government amended the Plant Variety and Plant Seed Act in March this year. Anyone found exporting banned items could face a fine of up to $10,000 and 3 years of jail time. Taiwan may not have many options when it comes to restarting exports to China, but this instance has shown that protecting the country's specialty products is now more important than ever. Patrick Chen and Eugene Huang for TaiwanPlus.
North Korea says ongoing US-South Korea military exercises are pushing the Korean peninsula to the brink of nuclear war. The annual drills have been underway since March. They involve nuclear-capable bombers, something Seoul says will strengthen the US's nuclear umbrella over the South. They have also included an amphibious landing drill for the first time in 5 years. Pyongyang says the drills are a rehearsal for an invasion. It has responded by unveiling smaller nuclear warheads and testing an underwater drone it says is also nuclear capable. Police have taken down hundreds of fake ads in a campaign against online scammers. The Criminal Investigation Bureau ordered the campaign over the 5-day long weekend for the Tomb Sweeping Festival, which ended Wednesday. Authorities say 350 ads have been taken down from Google. This was done under an agreement the company has with police to target suspected scammers. Now, there are only 2 types of butterflies in the world that migrate during the winter, and one of those is being impacted by the ongoing drought in southern Taiwan. Harold Hughes reports.
This is Taiwan's purple crow butterfly. It's among the country's 400 butterfly species. Like the monarch butterflies in Mexico, the purple crow migrates during the winter and spring. This species calls Kaohsiung in southern Taiwan its winter home. The area's purple butterfly valley is not actually a designated spot. Weather patterns and vegetation make it relatively unknown until the butterflies arrive. But the severe drought here has impacted the location and timing of the purple crow's migration back north by around half a month.
有比较慢从蝶谷出发，可是它还是在清明节的前后，就是有大量的紫斑蝶吊打。
Last March and April saw almost 300,000 butterflies return north. So far this year, only 86,000 have made the journey. But the Conservation Association is not concerned.
整体上来讲，今年的数量还不错。那以3月30号来讲，它是最大量是在1分钟有555只，那一整天飞下来有49000多只。
To protect the butterflies during migration, the government has set up a corridor of large nets to help butterflies safely cross highways. If their numbers exceed 250 per minute, the government closes the outer lanes of the highway. Despite this year's drought and the purple crow butterfly's late departure, Taiwan is still working to keep its title of Butterfly Kingdom. Alex Chen and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
60% of all clothes are made of polyester. This material is not sustainable and usually ends up in landfills or being burned. Scientists are now searching for a plastic-eating enzyme that can help break down and recycle polyester clothing. Sandy Chi has more.
Millions of tons of waste end up in landfills or are burned every year.
And a huge chunk of that is polyester fabric. The material cannot be recycled. Polyester is the most widely used clothing fiber in the world. It accounts for 60% of what we wear. Now, the Centre for Enzyme Innovation in the UK is working to create a plastic-eating enzyme to break down this waste.
So we have engineered enzymes to be capable of tackling the polyester in single-use plastic bottles, such as this one here, end of life, so that we can return these back to their chemical building blocks, which originally come from fossil fuels, i.e. oil and gas.
Scientists have already identified more than 70 enzymes capable of breaking down plastic, and are now in search for the perfect one for polyester clothing. To find that special enzyme, researchers freeze the fabric in liquid nitrogen so it can be milled into small particles. They're then placed in a bioreactor with water-based solution containing test enzymes. The enzymes then break the plastic down to its raw chemical components. Those chemicals can then be made into clothing again or recycled into any other plastic or chemical product.
Obviously, we're looking for the enzyme that's the fastest, that's going to break this down as quickly as possible. And we're looking for enzymes that sort of are stable at the temperatures that we want to work at in industry, which is usually around sort of 70 degrees.
The research team says the way we currently recycle fabrics is inefficient. But with help from the right enzyme, we can stitch together a better solution for polyester waste. Liao Lian and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Take care and see you next time.